stablecoins are just a far superior payment mechanism than anything that exists in traditional financial services. Far superior. We, of course, back in the day, thought like, hey, well, how are we going to get Bitcoin and or stablecoins to be used for payments? You have this huge catch-22, where in order for them to be used by payments, it takes two. It takes a sender and a receiver, and right. So you need to build a network. And the problem is in order for everyone to kind of like adopt stablecoins or Bitcoin all at once to use them as payments, it just isn't going to happen. But what we saw happen is that many people adopted Bitcoin for whatever purposes. A big one, the inflation hedge, the investment on future gain and adoption of the network, all that type of thing. That put Bitcoin and stablecoins in many people's hands. Stablecoins then kind of arose as this settlement currency across all of the centralized and decentralized exchanges.
Break the cycle of exploitation, break down the barriers to truth, break into the next generation of privacy, break free. Free to scroll without being monetized, free from censorship, freedom without fear. We deserve more when it comes to privacy. Experience the next generation of blockchain that is private and inclusive by design. Break free with Midnight. Visit midnight.network/break-free. Looking for a faster, cheaper way to move money worldwide? Owlting, now listed on the NASDAQ under the ticker symbol OWLS, is building the rails for stablecoin payments. Convert fiat to stablecoins and send money as easily as a text message. Learn more at owlting.com. CoinDesk Bitcoin Treasury Month is brought to you by Genius Group, a Bitcoin treasury company listed on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker GNS. Genius is building toward a 10,000 Bitcoin treasury and just launched Genius Academy, featuring courses from Saifedean Ammous and more. Start learning for free today at geniusacademy.ai. Genius Group. Genius isn't measured in IQ, it's measured in Bitcoin. Kraken Co-CEO David Ripley joins us now. Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Great.
Well, congratulations on those Q3 numbers.
Indeed, yep.
All right, before we get into that, talk to us about why it's important for an exchange like Kraken to have a presence at an event like this.
Well, we've actually been partnered with Ripple in some ways for well over a decade. We were one of the first exchanges out there to ever go multi-token and therefore list XRP back in 2013, so quite some time. We're also one of the first exchanges to list Ripple USD as well, new stablecoin back in the spring. So look, we take kind of an open approach to the ecosystem, partner with all different blockchains, banks and payment processors on down the line. And so for me personally, I like to do the same when I'm attending events and conferences, kind of go to developer conferences, investor conferences, blockchains such as this one, and kind of spread it around.
So investor behavior is changing, right? And retail has a lot of different places to trade things. And I remember from last year, you're kind of trying to go the other way and bring tokenized securities to folks to trade. So how do you keep your finger on the pulse of your retail traders who are keeping liquidity in the exchanges and keeping that activity going?
Well, I think that's one of the most significant things that's happening right now, and certainly what Kraken is leaning into, right? And so when we look at our population we serve kind of individual retail traders, individual professional traders, institutions as well. Maybe starting with the kind of the retail and the individual pro trader group, they want to trade assets. They want to trade a number of different asset classes. And so we made moves to move into TradFi, actually. And so now we offer a full suite of futures trading. We acquired the largest retail futures broker in the U.S., NinjaTrader, pure play futures broker. So now we trade, offer trading in futures for indices, commodities, FX, and the like. Same with equities. And now, so we also are a registered broker dealer, offer trading equities. The next step for that is kind of like bringing the two together in a really interesting way, which would be tokenized equities, which is probably the most exciting thing we have going on right now.
So big question. I'm glad I get to ask you this directly. I grew up in the equities world and the derivatives world, but on the securities side. And, people have brokerage accounts. Not a lot of retail people experience the futures market. Except in crypto, perps are huge, right? So offshore, people are very used to this kind of Delta One futures experience.
Yep.
In the regulated world in the United States, and this is a challenge for the CFTC, not a lot of people have futures accounts and understand using FCMs. Do you think that behavior is going to change? Like, how is retail going to express their derivatives positions or their views on crypto exchanges? Is it going to be short-term options, or do you really think they'll start to lean into futures and that will kind of, really kind of change their behavior?
Well, I think in some ways, maybe not, honestly. So we have, we kind of think about it from our different populations of customers. We divide it in those three groups I mentioned before, consumer, individual, pro traders, institutions. I think that individual pro trader segment where Kraken is particularly strong.
Yeah, they'll trade futures all day.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's kind of the population of the acquisition we made, Ninja Trader, another peer in the traditional financial services space like Interactive Brokers. That group, of course, familiar with derivatives, they want leverage. They're interested in trading the action that they get on those markets.
They can fill out the forms.
I think when you get to, exactly, I think when you get to the consumer population who, has adopted crypto to some extent and will continue to do so, that's a much bigger population, you probably won't see quite as much interest and activity in derivatives as you do there. It won't be zero. I mean, I think equity options is probably where you see more of the activity from kind of like a more pure consumer retail trader in the traditional financial services space. We'll see some of that in crypto, but it's not going to be, I don't think it'll be a drastic shift. I don't think crypto's kind of changing the game with regard to spot and derivatives. I think that's going to kind of be consistent across the two spaces.
CoinDesk Bitcoin Treasury Month is brought to you by Genius Group, a Bitcoin treasury company listed on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker GNS. Genius is on its way to hodling 10,000 Bitcoin in its treasury while educating the world on a Bitcoin-first future. Genius has launched the Genius Academy with courses from the likes of Saifedean Ammous, author of The Bitcoin Standard, Natalie Brunell, and many more. Start your Genius learning journey for free today at geniusacademy.ai and earn Bitcoin-backed gems. Genius Group. Genius isn't measured in IQ, it's measured in Bitcoin. Looking for a faster, cheaper way to move money worldwide? Owlting, now listed on the NASDAQ under the ticker symbol OWLS, is building the rails for stablecoin payments. With OwlPay, you can seamlessly convert fiat currency to stablecoins, send money as easily as a text message, and on or off ramp globally. Learn more about Owlting at owlting.com.
Right. That makes sense. And then so retail, I think you still want them to trade across your kind of really wide population of names, some of which they won't be able to access in things like ETFs and funds and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think the retail population for sure. I mean, probably you would look at that group, the consumer group, historically pre-crypto, largely trading equities, maybe doing a lot of, ETFs, mutual funds, all that type of thing.
Right.
Crypto has a right to be part of that group for sure, and is in fact. I mean, we'll look at the younger populations. Substantial number of them are now adopting, even just Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so forth as part of their portfolio.
Bitcoin volatility has plummeted, and this wasn't hard to predict, right? Because you have a bigger user base, you have a lot of Bitcoin locked up, supporting ETFs and in DApps and things like that. And other assets, I guess, Ether volatility is kind of where Bitcoin volatility might have been 18 months, 2 years ago. In traditional finance, volatility is bad and diversification is good. In crypto, it's sort of the other way around. How do you expect trader behavior or your customer behavior to change if volatility continues to compress?
Well, I think that's inevitably the case. And what we've frankly, going back a decade plus ago, what we've hoped for. And what we expected to happen.
Be careful what you hope for, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
What we expected to happen. We expected more volume, more activity, more diversification, institutions to come in, more liquidity, and that's going to bring volatility down over time. Also, just additional use cases for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so forth, whether it be payments, other different parts of DeFi smart contracts, also are going to bring volatility down. Now, in crypto, Of course, we have a long tail of different other names out
Something
there.
for everyone, right? Yeah.
And there's plenty of tokens without a shortage of volatility, that's for sure. And so that's going to continue. But I think it's a beautiful thing that we now have, volatility continually coming down. It's still, frankly, fairly high relative to some, other assets out there, like, for example, large fiat domestic currencies,
right.
Which tend to be, reasonably more stable. So I think there's still, and which is why we of course have stablecoins. But I think over time the trend will continue. Over the coming years, it'll just kind of continue to decline in its level of volatility.
I've got one more for you. Sorry, Jen.
That's okay.
I think part of I've been in a lot of different countries helping to promote a lot of our products and with our partners, and the stablecoin narrative being top of fold in the news has, I think, generated a lot more comfort for people.
Yep.
Across your user base, your users in their Kraken accounts can keep their money in dollars or presumably in stablecoins. Have you noticed an enhanced comfort level, a shift that people are happier keeping their money, kind of more in a more permanent way in stablecoins?
Well, I think for sure. I mean, when you look at the individuals in the crypto space, first, I mean, stablecoins are just a far superior payment mechanism than anything that exists in traditional financial services. Far superior. We, of course, back in the day, thought like, hey, well, how are we going to get Bitcoin and or stablecoins to be used for payments? You have this huge catch-22, where in order for them to be used by payments, it takes two. It takes a sender and a receiver, and
right.
so you need to build a network. And the problem is in order for everyone to kind of like adopt stablecoins or Bitcoin all at once to use them as payments, it just isn't going to happen. But what we saw happen is that many people adopted Bitcoin for whatever purposes. A big one, the inflation hedge, the investment on future gain and adoption of the network, all that type of thing. That put Bitcoin and stablecoins in many people's hands. Stablecoins then kind of arose as this settlement currency across all of the centralized and decentralized exchanges. Therefore, we have it there. If you look at Kraken or any other company in the space that's already in crypto, holds stablecoins, holds Bitcoin, we would never think to actually send U.S. dollars using a wire or a SWIFT. We just don't. If the individual or the business on the other side has stablecoins, that's what we use. And I think once now we got over that hump, everyone who is already integrated with crypto or stablecoins, has them on their books, knows how to do the accounting, all those types of things, which is somewhat of a lift, they're going to use stablecoins. And so I think we're getting to that point now.
All right, let's bring this interview full circle. We mentioned those record-breaking Q3 numbers at the top of the interview, 114% year over year, 50% quarter over quarter. Talk to us about what drove this growth. Is it institutional, retail, a mix of both?
Yeah, I wish I had like a simple, fun answer for you on this. It's really across segments, and frankly, it's across all of our products. We have a number of different products. We started as an exchange a decade ago. Now we're a full financial services technology firm. We have, of course, the exchange. We have derivatives. We have asset-based products, lending, margin trading, things like staking, of course, for crypto. All these various different products kind of grew across all the different product areas as well. I think one thing that's probably unique for Kraken is we really actually didn't do any marketing as a company historically. In the 2021 bull market, we probably spent about $5 million in total on marketing. I mean, obviously now we're a multi-billion-dollar company, right? That's changed. We're definitely investing in marketing now, and our growth engine is really, cranking. And so for all of these all these products that we build, all these customer services that we serve, we're really starting to see dividends there. When we acquire a customer, we measure what's called payback, and we see those customers pay back within a 6 to 9 month period, which is fantastic, frankly, relative to peers and other industries and so forth. And so we see that as a huge driver of our business going forward. That said, we also got some cool new products out there. We have Crack, our new payments app, Xstacks we talked about before, and so a number of new innovations that are now small, but we hope to contribute to significant numbers down the road.
David, thanks so much for joining us at the desk. Good luck on your fireside later on today. It was a pleasure having you.
Great, thank you.